allow him to turn the corner. Mama, there goes that man.
Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball. Oh, boy.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the First Pick Podcast. I'm your host, Hooper Manny here. Thank you guys so much for pressing play on this video. We're really excited for what we got today. Without further ado, I first want to start off this video by saying thank you guys so much for showing continuous amount of support on my platform and on Hooper's platform. It means the world to all of us. We're really putting in the work and we're really trying to make something out of this. Thank you guys so much once again. Now, if you're not following us or not subscribed, please make sure to do that on all platforms. The First Pick Podcast is available here on YouTube, so please make sure to leave us a rating. Give us a 5-star. That'd be really appreciated. Thank you guys so much. In this episode today, we're going to be talking about the NBA awards. The NBA is around a couple weeks away, and we want to give you guys our predictions. We have predictions for MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Sixth Man of the Year, Rookie of the Year, even Clutch Player of the Year, and we want to dive deep into it. We're going to give you 3 guys that we think can win this award, and we're even going to give you some sleeper guys. So if you guys want to put some bets on it, not encouraging it, but if you guys want to do that, please put some trust in me, and I'm going to give you guys my 2 cents on who we think is going to win all these NBA awards. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. This is Super Manny. Without further ado, let's get started. All right, so the NBA has a ton of different awards, as I just mentioned in that intro. They have the MVP, Sixth Man of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year. They have all defensive first team, stuff like that. We're not going to go over the teams yet because I want that to be a completely separate video. We're just going to go over the awards today. So without further ado, I'm going to start off with like Clutch Player of the Year and then make my way up to like the MVP, right? So Clutch Player of the Year. This is an award that's fairly difficult to kind of like think about, only because your team needs to be in close games in order for them to hit those clutch shots and take those clutch shots. So as a sleeper guy, we're going to go from sleeper to the guy we think we're going to win. Steph Curry. He just won this award. Now, I think the Warriors are in prime position to finish in the play-in. Now, with that being said, that means they're going to be in a lot of close games. That means Steph Curry is going to have to take a lot of tough shots. And when Steph Curry takes a lot of clutch shots or a lot of tough shots, they typically go in at a pretty high rate. That's why he won this award previously. I think if he can be in that similar situation that he was in like a year ago where they're fighting for a play-in spot, they need him to hit shots, I think Steph Curry can win this award again. But I do think that we need to put more of an emphasis on like team winning. Like I think Steph needs to have team success in order to win this award. And a lot of people are kind of questioning like, well, do you need team success to win the Clutch Player of the Year award? I think you do, because clutch means that you hit tough shots to win games, not just hitting clutch shots in a clutch environment. You need to be able to win the game, or else, I mean, yes, it's clutch, but it's like a whole different annotation to it. What do you guys think, though? Do you guys think that clutch means just hitting a tough shot, or does it mean like winning the game while hitting the tough shot? I personally think it's the latter. I don't think that we should just give it to anyone that just hits a clutch shot in under 2 minutes. I think that kind of defeats the purpose. I think if they hit the shot under 2 minutes and they win the game and it translates to wins, then we're talking. And it'll make sense as we go up this list why I think the guy that's going to win is going to win this award. At number 3, we have Damian Lillard, Dame Time. I think this was a pretty safe bet to go with. Damian Lillard, I mean, he's called Dame Time for a reason. He hits clutch shots at clutch moments, and his team is going to win basketball games. I think Damian Lillard and the Bucks are poised to be a top 3 team in the East this year. They added some really good guys. Taurean Prince, even though him and Darvin Ham got that whole thing going on. Gary Trent Jr., DeLon Wright, the rookies they added, they can develop those nicely. And then they got a new coach. Bringing back Doc Rivers, but you know what I mean. I think if Milwaukee can be a top 3 team and Dame can average what he's been averaging, but, you know, hit a couple game winners here and there, I think clutch player could be his, definitely. Number 2, I have LeBron James. Now, a lot of people are going to hear what I just said about Steph Curry and say, wait a minute, you just said they need to have team success. The Lakers are definitely not going to have team success this year. But it's very different. The East and the West are completely different monsters. I think the West has 10 teams that can fight for those 8 playoff spots. And I think the difference between seeding will be, again, 1 or 2 games. I think the Lakers can finish anywhere between like 4th to all the way down to 9th. It's a big difference, but I do think the difference in games is going to be 1 to 2 or 3 games. So with that being said, the Lakers always find themselves in really close games. If you paid attention to their season last year, a bunch of their games were decided within like the last couple minutes of the game. If LeBron can hit some tough shots, the NBA loves LeBron. They love the story about him. This is an award he doesn't have. He's pushing 40, or by the time the award will be given out, he'll be 40. I just think the NBA is like a sucker for those type of things, and I think once they see that LeBron is capable of that, I think they'll do what they can, give him that. But the guy I think that's gonna win it ultimately is DeMar DeRozan. He's won it one time with the Chicago Bulls, and I don't see why not he doesn't win it again. That year he won it with the Bulls. The Bulls were a pretty decent team. They were a playoff team. Last year they fell off a cliff, and he was still playing at an elite level. I think him making that switch over to Sacramento, they're poised to be a top 3 team in the West. I do think I don't see a reason why DeMar DeRozan does not do good. DeMar DeRozan can average 20 to 24 points per game, but if he hits the clutch shots for Sacramento that gives them those wins that are much needed in the Western Conference, I don't see a reason why he does not win that award. I don't want to say like it's a safe bet, but I think that DeMar DeRozan has a better chance than most, probably everyone in the NBA. Next, let's talk about Rookie of the Year. For a draft class that came in, everyone thinks they're pretty mid. No one really thinks that they're going to do good this year, especially following the draft class of Victor Wembanyama, the dude that averaged like 21, 10, and 3 blocks. Like, that's pretty hard to like surpass, but we're gonna do our best. Every year there needs to be a Rookie of the Year. At number 4, a sleeper guy, Alex Sarr. Pretty crazy to say that the second pick overall is a sleeper guy, but Alex Sarr, he kind of does a bit of everything. He's a decent defender. He can hit an outside shot. He's very mobile to be 7-footer. He was getting Victor Wembanyama comparisons, but like a poor man's Victor Wembanyama comparisons. Struggled in summer league, but he had a decent preseason game. He plays later on this week when this episode is being filmed. I think honestly, Alex Sarr needs to show consistency. First of all, he needs to show that it translates to wins, and then he just needs to market himself better. I think a big deal that a lot of people don't understand in the NBA is marketability. Alex Sarr having a poor performance in summer league, leaving that first impression sour. People on social media like to roast Alex Sarr. And it's completely justified. Like, he had a terrible game one summer league where he scored like 0 points and played a ton of minutes. Which is why like it's so premature to be judging these rookies, right? We haven't even seen them play in an NBA game, so to be judging off like who we think is going to win Rookie of the Year, it's mainly just what we know so far. And what we know so far is that if Alex Sarr can clean it together, get the Wizards like a couple more wins than they've normally had, I think that can put him in the conversation, at least top 3. But this very sleeper. I think he'd have to come out the gate like really, really good in order for him to jump into that number 1 spot. Number 3, we have Zachary Ricochet. He looked solid in his preseason debut with the Hawks. Now, a lot of people, just because he was from France, he's this 6'8", 6'9", like really lengthy wing. They think Atlanta's not really gonna do much. They have Trae Young and then Jalen Johnson, and then kind of the rest of the roster falls from there. Zachary Ricochet is poised to come in and play a pretty pivotal role in this organization. He was NBA ready. I mentioned that in a draft episode I did with my boy Michael. He's a plug-and-play player, so I don't see a reason why he can't come in, average 15, 16 points per game. Maybe not the best efficiency to start, but as the season rolls along, he'll be able to kind of better himself. That's why I have him at 3. I think team success is also something that should be taken into consideration with the Rookie of the Year. It's been seen year in and year out. They just give it to the guy that produces the best stats. That's where I think it's like, I don't really think that's the best. You have to show that you're either really unique and out the gate you're like really good, or team success. Zachary Ricochet has the pieces around him to be a winner. A lot of people are writing off the Hawks just because, they don't know much about Ricochet. They don't know about the rest of their lineup. They don't know much about Jalen Johnson, and they just think Trae Young wants out. I think Atlanta has like a 3% chance of making the playoffs, but they have a higher chance of making the play-in. And if they can make some noise in the play-in, with Zachary Ricochet being a top 2 or 3 guy, that can put him in the number 1 spot at the Rookie of the Year race. Number 2, Dalton Connect from the Los Angeles Lakers. If you've seen the Lakers preseason games, summer league, this guy is a scorer. He's an older rookie. Every single mock draft had this dude going like top 7, and then on draft night he just randomly fell. And it was just because of his age. It wasn't because of injury or because of his play style. He's a 6'6" wing that can shoot the hell out of the ball. This dude has a really nice looking jump shot. He can score at all 3 levels. He's been showing this sort of like pull-up mid-range game that he has. He got some secret athleticism to him, and he's playing for a market like the Los Angeles Lakers. Sad truth about the NBA is you're going to be getting more media attention in Los Angeles as if you would Zachary Ricochet in Atlanta. That's just how it is, and I think If Dalton can come in and make positive impact right away, if he can come in averaging 12 to 13 points per game on good efficiency, and he showcases that he's a real threat, this draft class is that low of like standards that these people have for them. I can see Dalton Connect winning the Rookie of the Year. Um, Now, is that a for sure thing? I think a lot of things have to happen right for Dalton. He has to secure some rotation minutes. I know JJ Redick has said that he's running a 9-man rotation, maybe sometimes 10. With all the injuries the Lakers have with Jared Vanderbilt and Christian Wood, I think Dalton Connect can sneak into that 9 to 10-man rotation early on in the season. And if he can show that he can shoot it at the level he was shooting at in Tennessee, I don't see a reason why he can't win that Rookie of the Year race. At number one, we got Reed Shepard. I think Reed Shepard is the epitome of like what the best outcome for this class can be. A 6'2", 6'3" sharpshooter of a point guard that plays the right way. He got some sneaky athleticism to him. The only thing that I worry about are his minutes. He's coming into a team like Houston that last year barely missed the play-in, and I think they're ready to take that next step. I think Jalen Green is ready to take that next step into all-star form. I think Alperen Sengun's ready. They got steady vets like Dylan Brooks and Freddie Van Vliet, the Drake look-alike. Ben Shepherd, I think, is a really, really good, solid backup point guard right now. He's going to have to be fighting Aaron Holiday for those minutes, if I'm not mistaken. And full transparency, I mean, a guy that can pass the ball at a good level. He plays smart. He shoots 40% from three, more than likely. I don't see a reason why he can't win the award. The Rockets are going to have team success. He can possibly be a big part of that. If all goes well, I think Reed Shepard is definitely the guy that can win Rookie of the Year. Now, for you Houston fans, I think you guys got a lot to look forward to, but that'll be throughout the next episodes. We're going to talk about power rankings and where do I see those teams ranking. But one thing I will say is the Houston Rockets are going to surprise a lot of people this year. And rightfully so. They got a ton of talent on that roster. Next, I want to talk about the Sixth Man of the Year, an award that's also pretty difficult, and you typically hear the same names, in and out. But at number 5, a guy that I think I gave 2 sleepers for this. I think 5, Cole Anthony for the Orlando Magic. Last year, the Orlando Magic lacked shooting. They brought in KCP, a guy that can shoot at near 40% and play defense. He's obviously going to get inserted to the starting lineup. I think it'd be a mistake for him not to. But I think this is the year that Cole Anthony takes that next step. If Cole Anthony is going to take a next step, it's going to be this year. He needs to come in and be a spark plug of offense off the bench. And I don't mean just score. I mean be an efficient shooter. Be an efficient sort of Jordan Clarkson role. Be in that role where you're a microwave scorer. Come in, you can score at a variety of different ways. That'll help the Orlando Magic to different levels that they didn't think they had. They finished last year like in that 4 to 6 range. I can't remember off the top of my head, but a really, really good squad. Cole Anthony had a pretty decent year, nothing crazy. If Cole Anthony can have a really good year next year and he can provide this sort of like really good energy, I don't see a reason why he can't win Sixth Man of the Year. I think that's a sleeper guy that you got to look out for. Next is whoever comes off the bench at Oklahoma City. When I say that, I don't mean Isaiah Joe, for those of you Isaiah Joe stands and Jalen Williams stands. I mean Alex Caruso, Isaiah Hartenstein, or Luke Winstort. Now, the fact that any of those guys are going to be coming off the bench for probably a number 1 seed in the West is going to be insane. That alone is going to get them recognition for Sixth Man of the Year. A lot of people don't know the lineup that Mark Dagnall is going to throw out there. A lot of people have been saying Shea, Dort, Caruso, J-Dub, and Chet. A lot of people are saying they want to run the 2-man of like Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein, which would push Caruso to the bench. Or a lot of people are saying that they'd rather just have Caruso next to Shea, and then it'll be Dort coming off the bench. If it's one of Alex Caruso or Isaiah Hartenstein, I'm far more confident in putting them in the top 3 or maybe even top 2. But because we don't know what, I wouldn't be as confident in putting Luke Dort in that top 3. That's why I put them all at 4, because you just don't know who's coming off the bench. If it's Caruso that's coming off the bench, that's probably one of the better 6-mans, a guy that plays really good defense, all defensive team, shoots 40% from 3 damn near, and guards the best perimeter defender. I don't see a reason why that's not a case for Sixth Man of the Year. Isaiah Hartenstein, after the year he had at New York, coming off your bench, a guy that has shown even the ability to run a 2-man pick and roll with another 7-footer. The passes he's been showcasing in Oklahoma, they just paid him a ton of money, which is also a reason why I don't see him as a starter. Like, I see him as a starter, not the bench guy. Number 3, Dante DiVincenzo from I was about to say New York Knicks, but you guys remember that live episode that I talked about the trade. Now Minnesota Timberwolves Dante DiVincenzo. I think if he comes in has the same year he has in New York, which I see he can realistically have, I would honestly start him, or even like if they're in tight games, I'd put him in that like death lineup that they would push out. Only because I don't really trust Mike Conley. Yeah, he's a steady vet, but I just trust Dante DiVincenzo's athletic ability more. His defensive. He's also not a slow player. Like he not maybe as like a vet like Mike Conley, the reputation that he's had. But I mean, I don't see a reason why Dante can't really do that. He led the league in threes, or specifically the Knicks. My bad, in like 3 pointers made in the season. If he has a year like that again, I don't see a reason why he can't be pushing that like defensive, that sixth man of the year award. Full transparency. Number 2, I have Malik Monk. This guy is just what Jordan Clarkson is and more, right? So I talked about Cole Anthony, a guy that could develop into something like that. Malik Monk is already that. He can come in, he can give you 30 off the bench pretty easily. This guy is the natural born scorer. The only thing that worries me about someone like a Malik Monk is he going to be getting the touches that he got last year? You're bringing a guy like DeRozan that's going to ask for the ball, a guy like De'Aaron Fox that needs the ball in his hands, and full transparency, DeMontis Sabonis out of those 3 can play off the ball more. Can DeMontis Sabonis give up the ball even more so everyone else can get their takes? Malik Monk is a really, really good scorer, though. I would not be surprised if he finished number 1 in Sixth Man of the Year. It's a toss-up between this and this next guy. I just don't see a world where Malik Monk doesn't finish top 3. Because even if he doesn't have the ball in his hands, Malik Monk is going to put up numbers. He's a sharp shooter. He cuts really well. He's a really good free throw maker. And he just has like this thing to him. And I think people tend to forget, right? Like, the Sacramento Kings aren't where they are at without Malik Monk. And I know that's probably a controversial statement, but Malik Monk is essential to that team. That's why they signed him to a really long-term contract. They wanted to get it done. They're paying him a lot of money. Malik Monk, once he got to Sacramento, they were revitalized with this sort of offense next to, Domantas Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox. I don't see a reason why Malik just is not a top guy in the Sixth Man of the Year race. And the guy that I think is probably going to take it from him, which rightfully so, but also, again, touches is another thing that we need to talk about, Naz Reid. That dude can get buckets anywhere on the court. I think he can come in, give you 15 like straight in like 5 minutes for whatever reason. When he plays certain teams, he just becomes like this offensive monster. Like, this dude doesn't miss. He's really good. Put the ball on the floor. I even think he can play some lineups with like Julius Randle and Rudy Gobert. Like, that's how good he puts the ball on the floor, and he can dribble and he can create for himself. I think if Naz Reid can kind of create similar production to what he did last year, I think another Sixth Man of the Year is definitely in the cards for him. All right, next I want to talk about the Most Improved Award. And again, another award that's fairly difficult to kind of judge off, only because we don't know these guys' roles. We just know what happened last year, and then can they carry that over to this year? We can only assume, right? Like, who can we kind of choose for these awards? Some sleeper guys. I have 2 guys from the Houston Rockets. I have Amen Thompson and Cam Whitmore. Now, when I say 2 Houston Rockets, it's probably tough, right? Like, how are we going to put 2 Houston Rockets in the top of Most Improved? Well, best believe I put 3 of them on this. I'm very confident in the Houston Rockets this year. But Amen Thompson is the guy. He rebounds well. He assists very well. He's a good defensive guy. He's a good, like, in the dunker spot. He can drive into the rim, good dribble. He can develop some sort of mid-range three-point shot. I think that'll be, like, the be-all difference for him. That's why I'm just not really confident. I don't know about if he can shoot. I don't know the minutes. It's just too crowded in that Houston backcourt for him to be getting any type of burn or consistent burn. Cam Whitmore, another guy, a phenomenal scorer. This dude can drop 20 pretty easily. He has the frame. He's 6'8". He has a good wingspan, good jump shot, drives in, physical. Is there going to be minutes for a guy like him? I think this could be the NBA trade season where like Dylan Brooks gets maybe moved, and that can maybe slide one of these guys some more minutes. I don't know, but I think Cam Whitmore, if given the opportunity, can definitely provide that Most Improved feel. Number 3, I got a guy, Cam Thomas. For whatever reason, I want to talk about this about the Most Improved Award. The Most Improved Award, for whatever reason, has gotten this thing where if your stats just go up, you automatically get the award. And I think the meaning of the award should be the year before and then compared to the year that they're in now. That year, they need to show that their back grew. And for whatever reason, in the past, we've given it to guys who are like top 3 picks. Why would we give the most improved player to a guy that was already projected to be good? Just because they were learning the NBA in their year one and they were adjusting to the speed, the physicality of it. Why are we all of a sudden giving the most improved award to a guy that was already projected to be good? My main guy that I'm pointing at is John Morant. Like what? And like I think I saw some other like who's gonna have a bounce back year or like a showing out year. John Morant on that list. Victor Wembanyama. Like why are we putting these guys like in these lists that are like? Of course they're gonna do good. They've already broken out, or of course they were top 2 picks in their draft class. Like why are we putting them in these most improved categories? Um, I'm probably gonna bite myself in the ass here, but I at number 2 I put Jalen Green, but for a completely different reason. Jalen Green, when he was coming out of the draft, everyone thought he was already going to be a 20-point per game scorer. He was going to be efficient. He was going to lead Houston. Or when Jalen Green came out of the G League, he was an athletic scorer that relied heavily on his athleticism. Sometimes can make an outside shot, and that's kind of about it. An inefficient 20-point per game scorer. That's what he came out as. And over the past couple years, he's entering, I want to say, year 4, year 3. We kind of saw like that difference in Jalen Green post All-Star break last year. He was efficient. He was making threes. He was kind of like an offensive force, to be fully transparent. And if we see that for a whole season, he makes that All-Star leap. That's the guy that you thought that was at number 2, right? When you drafted him number 2, he became an efficient scorer, 20 plus points per game, a leader on offense. And if he can develop into that, that's different than giving it to a guy like John Morant. Or I've even seen some people say Victor Wembanyama would deserve to be the most improved player. These guys are projected like this is what we thought. Now Jalen Green, this is what we thought, right? A 20-point per game scorer. But what we'd see, or like hypothetically, if he would win this award, what we're gonna see is an efficient 20-point per game scorer that can be a hub on the offensive end. If that's what we get, I think that's different than what we projected, like coming out of the draft for him, right? At number 1, I got Jalen Johnson. I think this guy is a really, really good NBA player. I just want to check who won the award last year, but I honestly think that you see they gave it to Tyrese again, like a guy that we already knew was gonna win the award, right? Like a guy that was given a bigger role the year before. He was already averaging like 16, 17. But again, completely deserved. Tyrese Maxey as a bucket. I'm not surprised that he got that award, but I just want to give it to guys that like we're not expecting this big leap from them. Last year, Jalen Johnson came out of nowhere. The year before, he averaged like 5 points, and then last year he averaged 16. So it's like completely different player. Like the opportunity was there, he took it, and he showcased stuff that people didn't know he had in his bag. And the fact that Jalen Johnson is poised to come back and hopefully stay healthy, right? Because the new 60 games minimum is in effect. So if he can play those games, I don't see a reason why he does not win this award. Um, Next, we're gonna go to probably the 2 biggest awards in my opinion. We got the Defensive Player of the Year and the MVP left. We're gonna start off with the Depoy. I only gave 3 names because I think it's a 3-man race. If you want to put a fourth, I'll put Giannis in there just because Giannis is always gonna have a spectacular defensive season as long as he's in the NBA. At number 3, I put Bam Adebayo, a guy that can arguably switch 1 through 5. He is probably one of, if not the best, perimeter big man defender in the NBA just because of how mobile he is. Team success is going to have a lot to do with it, as it should. What place are Miami going to finish on defensive end? What are his counting stats looking like? But Bam affects the games defensively in ways that we have yet to like even see. I think they've been playing him at the wrong position personally. I think he's 6'9", 6'10". I think he should be playing the power forward position, but that can also go for another guy that's going to be on this list. Bam Adebayo, again, pretty solid. There's not really much else to say about a guy like Bam when it comes to this award. Number 2, I have Victor Wembanyama. This is everyone's favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year, and I would not be surprised if they give it to him. I think this guy is poised to be the next face of the NBA pretty early on into his career. They're gonna, I don't want to say glaze because they're not gonna glaze him, but they're gonna show him like pretty early on that this is gonna be their guy. post LeBron. Victor Wembanyama last year, he averaged 3 blocks per game. He's 7'5", almost 7'6", I think. Super mobile. He's a rim protector. Like, I don't see a world where he doesn't average almost 4 blocks and 2 steals a game. Averaging 6 stocks is pretty crazy with like 11 boards or even 12 boards. Like, Victor's gonna put up the stats to win it. I just think it's more about team success when it comes to this role. How good is the team off when he's not playing? Like, if Victor's not on the floor, how good is San Antonio on defense? How good are they with him on the floor? And overall team success. Are they going to finish in the play-in? Are they going to finish in the playoffs? Are they going to be tanking this year again? Um, I just don't know. I think Victor can wheel them into a play-in spot, but it's just a matter of fact, does San Antonio want that? And number one, I just think this guy needs an award as far as defensive goes. Anthony Davis. I think if he does not win it this year, I think we can close that book. Anthony Davis will not win the Defensive Player of the Year if he does not win it this year. He constantly puts up really good stats, double-digit boards, almost 2 blocks per game. The defensive stats are there when he's playing. They're one of the best defensive teams in the league. When he's not playing, they're like bottom 5. Anthony Davis, for all the years that he has not won it, he should be winning this award. If he does not win it this year, I think he's not going to win it the rest of his career, and he'll probably go down as one of the best players to not win a Defensive Player of the Year. Now, can Anthony Davis stay healthy? That's another question, right? Can he play those 60 games? Last year he played it. He played really good defense, and he still lost out to, I want to say it was Rudy Gobert, right? Let me just make sure that it was Rudy Gobert that won this award, because a guy that, yeah, it was Rudy Gobert. I think that's a guy that's like a safe bet. I didn't even put him in my top 4. I have him at number 5. Rudy's a great defender, but I'm just getting voters fatigue when it comes to Rudy. It's just like, what else, right? Like, he's gonna take Minnesota to a top 3 defense. He's gonna grab a ton of boards. He's gonna block a ton of shots. But like, I think it's about time we give Anthony Davis his flowers, and even Victor Wembanyama and Bam Adebayo. Like, these guys are good defenders. Let's switch up the award. Let's actually do something about it. And to kind of wrap off this episode, I want to talk about the MVP, which is the one that you're going to hear the same names, but I kind of mixed and matched where I thought they were going to come out. Last year, Nikola Jokic won his 3rd MVP. The year before, Joel Embiid won MVP. This year, I think it's neither of those guys. As a sleeper, I got to put Nikola Jokic. I don't think he's going to be top 3 in MVP voting this year. I think the Nuggets lost KCP. The year before, they lost Bruce Brown. I just think they're trying to plug in too many guys that they're trying to replicate that championship formula where they won a couple years ago. But I'm just not a believer in Russell Westbrook anymore in this day and age. I think he was a great player when his time was, but to get him to play a certain way, to fit a certain style of play next to a guy like Jokic, a guy like Murray, I think it's a lot tougher. So I just think team success has a lot to do with MVP, and I think Nikola Jokic, while his team will make the playoffs, they'll be top 6 for sure. I don't think they'll be top 2 or top 3 like they were in the past years. At number 3, I have Joel Embiid. I think this is the year that Embiid can win another MVP. They just got Paul George. They got Tyrese Maxey. The pieces they got to come, like Caleb Martin, that's a crazy signing. First of all, Eric Gordon, Andre Drummond, like, the team looks really good. Which can also be a reason why Joel Embiid probably doesn't want to go for MVP, right? He already won one. He won an Olympic gold medal. He just wants that championship. Maybe he prioritizes a championship in his health over, like, playing the 60-game mark, right? So I think if the 76ers just plan on getting Embiid to the playoffs healthy, I think that's why I put him at 3rd. But I think when he's on the court, he's going to be one of the best players in the NBA. He puts up 30-plus points per game, plus like 13 boards, at least a block or 2 a game, a ton of free throws, which I don't really like that. But, I mean, free throws are part of the game, right? Like, what are we going to do about it? Yeah, I just think that easier said than done, right? Joel Embiid is definitely a guy that can win MVP. At number 2, I put Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Oklahoma is going to have success this year. They're going to probably be a number 1 seed again. Pieces they added are insane without really losing that much. Shai is going to average 31 points per game, probably, on a crazy efficiency. He's going to be a really good defender, all NBA level defender. I just don't see a world where he is not in the top 3 of MVP. He was top 3 last year. I think that's a guy that can definitely win it. Number 1, I think finally we turn the page and we give the award to Luka Doncic, a guy that, if he is healthy, can average a triple-double, They brought in guys like Klay Thompson, Najee Marshall. They retooled, and they're going for the championship. This year, if Luka plays over 60 games, I think he deserves the MVP. He was pretty close last year to winning it, and they had a pretty rough patch like in the beginning of the brand new year, like in January. They had a pretty rough patch. But, I mean, I don't see a reason why. Another year of him and Kyrie next to each other, Klay Thompson is going to bring a whole different element. You cannot sag off Klay Thompson the same way teams were sagging off of Derrick Jones Jr. Like, that's a completely different player. Yes, you can say what you want about Klay Thompson, but he's going to give you good three-pointers and on pretty decent efficiency. And Luka Doncic it's just who he is, right? He's going to get 30 a game. Probably going to get like 9 boards, maybe even 10. And then his assists, like that's just normal. Like, and the Mavericks will probably be a top 3 team. They'll probably be between 2 or 4. And if they're in between that range, Luka Doncic definitely deserves to win MVP. Yeah, easier said than done. I think that's exactly so. Quick recap before we end today's episode. I got Luka Doncic winning MVP, Anthony Davis winning Defensive Player of the Year, Jalen Johnson winning Most Improved, Naz Reid winning Sixth Man of the Year. Now, let me know if you guys agree with this. If not, I completely understand. This is just my opinion. I want to hear what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. Have an argument. Let people know what you think specifically. But thank you guys so much for listening to this week's episode of the First Pick Podcast. This has been Hooper Manny here. Thank you guys so much for pressing play. Remember to like and subscribe. Share this podcast with a friend. And if you're listening to us on audio, give us a 5-star rating. Make sure to listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever else you hear your podcast. Thank you guys so much. Really do appreciate it. This has been Hooper Manny once again. Peace.
You allow him to turn the corner. Mama, there goes that man.
Oh, if you